her name.
Lucy.
No, there
Her
was
name-
Rosie.
The dog before her was Lucy.
Lucy, yeah. They both used to attend our meetings.
Rosie greeted me at my very first RiverCog meeting. And when
Oh.
I arrived, I was like, this is a very different place. And I remember I took a picture of Rosie was sitting on Ralph's lap, and I tried to take a picture discreetly of that to send it to my my coworkers up in Waterbury, and I said, this is a different cog.
For sure.
Yes. For those of you that may not know, once Ralph left, he was done with politics, but he is now a selectman in the town of Reedfield.
Of course he is.
Of course he is. Yes, you know, Sam.
Yeah, well, I guess he wasn't going to be very good at sitting by and watching somebody else mismanage. So of course he had to jump in. He's so funny. All right, I let me see who's here, because we should start. 1, 2, Angus is here. Charlie 3, Peter 4, Susan 5, Joan 6. Carl, is it Carl?
Yes.
Yes, so Carl's representing Clinton. We'll introduce you in a minute. That's 7, I'm 8. I think that's it. We have.
No, Bishop, I'm here.
Right. I'm sorry, Noel. I saw your phone number come up. So we're all here.
Get Kathy, you know.
Well, I'm just going to do a roll call first, and then we'll identify everybody. That's Charlie's job. So I'm going to call the meeting to order, since I know we're all here at 9:35. Good morning, everybody. And if we could do the Pledge of Allegiance to get us started, that would be great. I pledge allegiance
To the
to the
flag
flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
To the republic
for
for which
which
it
it
stands,
stands, one
one
nation,
nation under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
indivisible, with
with
liberty and justice
and
for all.
justice for all. Thank you. All right, roll call, and it says Susan, but it shouldn't. It should say Charlie.
Correct.
I've got it if you want. I can run it down, Leslie, if you want.
Yeah, go ahead, Charlie, do your thing.
Okay. Leslie, you're here. Clinton?
It's represented by, Carl, do you want to introduce
No one.
yourself?
I'm not officially appointed by the town council, so I'm here as an observer.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, okay. You have the, I don't know, who was that name? At Clinton?
Carl, how do you spell your last name?
Carl Kilduff, Kilduff.
Thank you.
Angus?
Is here.
Yes, here.
Angus is there?
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
Peter?
Here.
Okay. Joan?
Here.
Okay. Susan?
Here.
Susan, anybody from Old Lyme?
No.
Nope. I'm here. Noel, you're here too, right?
Yes.
Okay, we have a quorum, Leslie.
Very good.
This is Kathy Eno from Killingworth. I'm here.
We have guests, yes. And Kathy is First Selectman Killingworth. Any other guests want to identify themselves for Charlie?
Sam Gold from RiverCog.
Anyone else? No, okay. And of course, Joe Comerford is on.
And I guess
All right.
Carl Kilduff, the town manager of Clinton.
Right, we've got Carl. Do we have Suzanne taking minutes this morning?
And you didn't include
No.
Steve Mattson is on the
No.
phone.
Right, sorry. Steve Mattson.
Suzanne is off. Suzanne was off today, so she's not here taking minutes.
Okay, but Joe, we're recording, correct? You're muted. Joe.
Oh, he's not
Joe.
connected. His audio isn't connected. Oh, there.
Yes, we're recording, and I'm taking the notes because I don't think we'll have a whole lot for the minutes.
Okay, good, thank you. Anyone else we didn't recognize?
Did you include Steve Mattson?
Yes, I have Steve down from Lyme.
Okay.
Okay, Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Moving along, because we're going to try not to make this one of those marathon meetings. I felt it was important, item number 4, for me to give everyone a quick update on a motion that we made at our last regularly scheduled meeting. I was authorized by the board to speak with Matt and to speak with First Transit regarding compensation. And I just wanted to briefly tell you, I did speak with Matt. I spoke with Joe Solaris, who is the chairman of their board, regarding compensation for our finance manager, retro to when she started working there. And he personally had no objection to that. He thought it was a good idea. He said, no problem, and would, if need be, call a special meeting of their board to get a consensus. And in the meantime, he was going to speak with Joe to find out the level of compensation that was appropriate for benefits and salary, et cetera. This conversation was about 10 days ago. I have not yet heard back from Joe, so that's open. Also, I had a conversation with Nick Prompanus from First Transit, who is the vice president person in charge of us, regarding our contract with them and regarding Joe's compensation. And that went a little differently. I was told straight out up front, there is no additional dollar compensation available based on the contract that we have and the very low profit margin that was negotiated with First Transit. And that wasn't his negotiation. I don't know why there is such a low profit margin. But however, it is what it is. As you all know, they are compensating us by $3,000 a month credit because Joe was putting in time at Middletown. And as we became aware of how much time, we agreed that that was insufficient. So there was no dollar compensation. I raised the question as to whether or not First Transit and DOT were saying that 9-Pound Transit did not require a full-time executive director. And is that the statement that's being made? Because DOT told First Transit not to replace the executive director who left Middletown. The First Transit was told simply that Joe Comerford could take care of whatever was needed in Middletown. As you are aware, we've calculated that to be about 40% of his time. And that's an open issue here. It's still on the table. But I just wanted you to be up to speed on where we've gone with that.
Leslie, can I
Susan.
interject here? I'm speaking as the chairperson of the finance committee. It's unfortunate that their profit margin is insufficient, but that is not our problem. I don't find their response to be acceptable. And what I think should be done is, as a follow-up to the motion that the board passed for you, that you should send a formal request in writing to Nick.
Okay. Other conversation on that?
Well, I think I just got a lesson in corporate governance. If you sign a contract in which you don't make enough money, you just tell people that you can't pay any more because you're not making enough profit, which I think is a wonderful breakthrough in corporate management. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this particular issue? Susan, are you making a formal motion?
I don't think it needs a motion. You've been authorized to negotiate, and writing a formal request is consistent with the motion that's already been approved.
All right. Well, if there's no objection to Susan's suggestion, then I will put together a letter. And since Susan, you're our finance chair, I'm going to ask you to put eyes on that letter before it goes out?
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions on that particular item? Okay. My next thought on updating everyone on events is basically to do a very brief timeline of what's gone on in the last 8 months. I think for our guests and for some of us, it's going to be a nice quick refresher course so that we can try to move forward in a productive manner. So here's my history. Having been on this board for the last 14 years, I am very proud of the fact that over the last 10 plus years, since Joe's been our executive director, we've made tremendous progress as a board. Under his leadership, we are stronger. We have better finances, better systems, better services, and to some degree, we've been referred to as the poster child of smaller transit districts. In the last 8 months of that tenure, starting in February, we were told to consolidate by Dennis Zelensky from DOT, or it was clear to us there would be repercussions. We asked specifically at that time if we consolidated, if we didn't consolidate, excuse me, would we get a new facility? Probably not. Would there be any expansion of our routes or service? Probably not, et cetera, et cetera. In March, we reached a consensus to merge. No vote was taken on that consensus, but we all seem to agree that 2 facilities would be what we would request as in Model 3 from the COG study that was done with 2 facilities. They were referring to the shoreline facility as a satellite. We requested it simply be referred to as a shoreline facility. And we had some issues that needed to be resolved. On June 5th, we held a special meeting to determine what exactly our threshold conditions were. An MOU/MOA, we're going to figure out what to call it, committee was appointed. A week later, on June 11th, we had a special board meeting in which Dennis Zelensky was present. We gave him our threshold conditions. There were 8 at the time. You can all see the June 5th agenda. Dennis felt most of them were reasonable. He made it clear which ones probably wouldn't come about, but we all came away from the meeting, I think, understanding the DOT's position. On July 7th, the ETD and MAT MOU committees met. They, at their meeting, chose a consultant with whom to work. A week later, on July 13th, Dennis told, this is all oral, I have nothing in writing, but he told Joe, as I understand it, he would not accept our choice of consultant, would not work with him. There would again be repercussions, and it was a bad choice. We should not work with the consultant that they chose. On August 21st, we had a regular board meeting. We asked Joe to set up a meeting with Bureau Chief Rich Andreski, who is 1 level up, as I understand it, from Dennis. Joe waited until a letter of September 3rd went out of general support we had asked the commissioner for a letter of general support, which he sent on September 3rd. He did not mention any of the commitments or actions that we had requested. It was a very generic letter saying that everything seemed reasonable, or that it was reasonable that we would see funds, et cetera, but absolutely no commitments. After which time, Joe then went to and tried to set up a meeting with our bureau chief, Rich Andreski. So he did that early in September. To date, we have had 0 response from this bureau chief. Nothing to Joe, nothing to us at all. On September 23rd, Angus and Noel, who are the two selectmen who are on our board, reached out to the Deputy Commissioner of DOT at a COG meeting or after the COG meeting. And the Deputy Commissioner then instructed Rich Andreski to meet with the two of them. So on October 13th, they had that meeting. And they were told no further action would occur from DOT without a signed MOU from the two districts. On October 15th, Laura Francis, selectman from Durham, called a meeting of the selectmen to get us moving on an MOU. On October 16th, at our meeting, I was authorized to talk with First Transit and Matt about dollars, and I've just gone over all of that. We agreed to proceed with MOU negotiations with a clear summary of our conditions. And Angus and Noel agreed to write a letter to the deputy outlining again their clear conditions. Joe was asked to make a first draft of that letter. It went to me and Susan for our opinions. We came up with a second draft. All of that is still on the table. It didn't go anywhere, and we are going to discuss that at a later time in this meeting. On October 22nd, we're coming up here, folks. I did not accept the letter. I had questions that involved the COG involvement in all of this because I did not understand it. And we now have, COG had a meeting yesterday, which I attended and tried to explain briefly our position and how hard we've been working to get an MOU, that we had a committee, we had a consultant, that we've met, blah, 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 because the COG was misinformed as to whether or not we were actually doing anything or just sitting around. That's the timeline as I see it. Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of detail. I've got everything laid out here if you want to question any of that. But that brings us to today, where I would like to discuss how we move forward so that we can, with our contract negotiations, so that we're not all just sitting around spinning our wheels, having lots of meetings and no progress. I think inherent in all of this is a tremendous amount of frustration, which isn't helping, but we've got to just find direction. Any questions on this timeline? Joan, I think you're, unmute yourself.
Yeah. Just point of information, at yesterday's, at the last COG meeting that you attended, was there any conclusion that was reached, or was it just a discussion?
The COG, and Sam, you can speak to this if I get it wrong, but I believe you suggested that the COG send a letter of some sort to the deputy commissioner, either on your own or that you sign on whatever letter we sent, if we send a letter, and however we're doing it. So the COG would like to be brought in on, and that's why Sam is here today. What else did you guys say? That
the resolution was a general resolution of support of the transit district boards. So first of all, I think it was a resolution of support in support of the transit districts and the boards and the board's authority to negotiate. I think it was also a follow-up to the deputy commissioner's visit to the COG last month at the September meeting. And I'm still wordsmithing of how to ask for his continued involvement to meet with the transit districts and their appointed representatives. So I'm still wordsmithing on how to say it in a way, but more or less asking to stay involved in this process.
Has somebody got a dog that we can ask to leave the room?
But the resolution yesterday was to support the transit district boards.
Okay.
And and to request the deputy commissioner's continued involvement. He came,
If I could summarize, because what you just said, Sam, is that the letter that the COG is going to send is just to stress the COG's support for the two districts to work with DOT in developing the memorandum of understanding, correct?
correct. Yeah.
Now, you also said something about some verbiage that you wanted Andreski to do. Could you repeat what that, what would be the benefit of that and why would that be in there?
So the issue that Leslie had identified is that the inability, she has yet to be able to meet with anyone above Dennis. And she's expressed to me, and I agree with it, I think is quite disrespectful of her as her elected position as chair of the Orr Transit District. How we wordsmith that, we have to be careful. That was the guidance I got from my board members to not be accusatory. But Garrett Eucalito, who's his deputy, he's 2 steps above Dennis. And since he has been involved in this since September when he came to the COG, and this is a big issue for our region, they ask in the letters for his continued involvement, because a person at his level can make commitments that Dennis can't. And that's I think that's one of the issues that Leslie has identified is, and I think we all know, is that Dennis can't make promises. He can say things, but he doesn't have the wherewithal to be able to follow through.
Okay, so to summarize that last point, Sam, am I correct in summarizing it by saying that you're trying to wordsmith something that will support our request for meeting with Andreski? Is that correct?
Yes, and stress to the deputy commissioner that it's very important that he stay involved in this project.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Because and he already has been involved. So we're not asking for anything new. But this is, and I might be able to put it in the context of the larger importance for the state of Connecticut. This is an important project for them, and we want to get it right, but we also need to go through the right channels. It was pretty clear from my board yesterday that they don't want me calling them out for not meeting with Leslie. They thought that would be too accusatory. But you know, I think she's rightfully pissed for that. Yeah, you think? But
I also think that we can continue part of this discussion in executive session.
okay.
Yeah, we can, but Joan's question is a good one.
But anyway, that I hope that answers your question.
Joan?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions on the history that I've given? Because we are intending to go into executive session for discussion purposes. But if there are no other questions publicly, then does anybody
I make a
Susan?
motion that we move into executive session for the purpose of discussing negotiations with CTDOT on the merger.
Second.
I'll second that.
I'm going to
Well-
ask, is that motion going to include inviting?
Clarification from Noel, could we confirm then who is going to be in executive session
that's right.
besides the board members, please?
Susan, do you want to clarify your motion?
I think that everyone who is on this call would be included in that executive session. All of our visitors, as well as Joe.
Okay, because the visitors, as we
This is
see
Noel.
them,
This is Noel. I would support that suggestion 100%.
okay, understanding that all visitors right now are our executive director, the COG director, and selectmen who are in addition to our board. I don't think there's any other participants on this call.
Correct.
I want that to be clear.
There's no other staff.
Okay, in that case, we have a second, Joan, to that motion.
Second.
Okay. Further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, raise your little hands here and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? In that case, if you'd stop recording, Joe, it is 9:58. We are going into executive session.
Okay, that doesn't require a motion, I don't think,
No, it just requires a timeline.
but, and I will propose the motion that I presented in the meeting in the public meeting. When you're ready.
Well, we're
I'm
now
ready.
back. Are we recording, Joe?
We are recording.
Okay. Well, now that we're back, hi, everybody. Thank you. Is there anyone that would like to make any kind of a motion at this point in time?
I would like to move that we authorize the ETD board to send a letter relaying our concerns regarding the ETD MAT merger to CTDOT Deputy Commissioner Euclid.
I'll second that motion.
I would like to
Discussion?
comment. I would, if it's possible, Susan, if you could add to your motion language that says as a follow-up or following Sam's conversation. I think the timeline's got to be a little clearer. This letter's not going out until Sam has had an opportunity to give us input from his conversation.
I don't
No?
think that's necessary.
Okay,
I think we're all agreed that that's how we will proceed. But then we have to spell out in the motion what that conversation is. And we don't know when that's going to take place. And how do other people feel about this? Angus? Joan?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Susan, I think you leave it the way you started. I don't think we need any further addition. I think
Angus?
it covers what we want to do, and it's straightforward.
There's nothing
Angus?
in the motion. I'm trying to think it through. There's nothing in the motion that says we're going to send the letter prior to getting from Sam. We just know we're going to.
all right.
Just authorization.
It's authorization to send, got it, that's fine. Then I withdraw my comment.
Okay. So that's
And it
my
should be
motion.
authorized ETD board chairman, right? Or chairperson.
I'm sorry, say that again?
It should be authorizing the ETD board chairperson to send a letter.
Well.
Is that how we have it worded?
Yes, but you have to, it's gonna,
I worded it to say the ETD board, the chairman acts on behalf of the board.
to draft the letter, okay.
Did you get that wording, Sam or Joe?
Yeah, it's just ETD board.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so the motion's been seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none.
Who
all in
seconded it?
fa- What?
I missed the second. Who seconded?
I
I
second it.
Peter?
Is that Peter?
All right, hearing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? The motion carries unanimously. I like that word in there. Fine. Is there any other business at this special meeting that anyone would like to bring up? Where's the agenda go? I have more paper here than I know what to do with. Here we go. There's not even a spot for new business. I'm going to then, in that case, suggest that we adjourn at 11:15 and thank you all for a tremendous amount of time and energy and intelligence, and you're all terrific. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Susan. Thanks,
Have a
everybody.
good rest of your
Thank
day.
you.
Do well.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Bye-bye.
Bye.